What's up, guys? I'm excited to welcome back our resident financial expert and also a sponsor of this channel, helping to keep me going, in Colin Plume from Noble Gold Investments. Colin gives me his thoughts on the current gold market and also the possibility of us getting back onto a gold standard and Trump taking over the Federal Reserve. It's a great conversation. Check it out. Colin, thanks for coming back on with me, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, Jordan, I'm been good. You've been all around, and I've been here, and looking forward to chatting to you about what's happening in the world.
Totally, man. So I want to talk about gold and silver and then the stock market. So you sent me a couple of articles I had the chance to preview. One of them was by Business Insider. They were saying that a billionaire is sounding an alarm on the gold shortage and that basically all these mining companies are running out of gold and they can't really replace their aging mines. And then you sent me another article that said buying gold and dumping stocks is a no-brainer, and a bunch of analysts believe that the equities market is due for a correction. So what do you see going on in the stock market and with gold and silver and compared to that?
Well, the first in Business Insider, the billionaire Pierre Lassonde talks about how we're at a net negative in terms of mining, which basically means, they've been able to keep up with the demand of gold for the last 20, 30 years. This is the first year that they've had to tap into reserves. So mining companies are pulling out of their reserves to fulfill orders, and which basically means they're running short. They're having a hard time pulling enough gold out of the world. And we always, when you look at the price of gold and you look at the dollar, sometimes you forget that the gold is really, there's not a whole lot of it out there. And most of the owners of gold would never sell their gold. Some countries have sold their gold, and it's been, some of the biggest mistakes they've ever done. Like Great Britain sold the majority of their gold in 2002. And it was, regarded as one of the biggest financial blunders by any central bank in the last 30 years. But most central banks are not sellers. The U.S., China, Russia are buying more. And so basically this billionaire was saying that the demand out there is growing and the mining companies aren't able to keep up. But if you look at the price hasn't acknowledged that. We haven't seen that huge uptick in metals, and a lot of it has to do with that everybody's dumping into risky investments. They're in the stock market, they're getting into derivatives, people are really putting themselves out there. They're trying to get these heavy returns, but also they forget that the downside risk is really high. And so that's why when you see something like this, you see a billionaire, a guy that's around the mining companies, you see this shortage, you realize that there's only a finite amount of gold out there. They can only fit all the gold in the world in 2.5 Olympic-sized swimming pools, which is really not that much, in terms of how much is in the world. And so it's interesting what's happening. Obviously, the stock market's still very high. People are still putting a lot of money there, but the fundamentals for the stock market are a little bit shaky. Obviously, with the tariffs, we've seen the stock market have a little bit of pullback, and I think the equity market is ready for a big correction.
Right. And it looks like a lot of these larger corporations, their stocks are very volatile. We just saw Facebook lose $15 billion some dollars in a couple of hours just the other day. And Twitter's stock is tanking today. So it looks like the stock market's not a place we want to be.
Yeah. And I think it's all about diversification, Jordan. I think that, most people that are savvy realize, hey, I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket. And the other thing is that when do you recalibrate your portfolio? When do you look at your portfolio and go, okay, I got to make a dynamic shift here and I got to move some money from some of these different assets? There's really, 5 or 6 different investments everybody's in: stock market, gold, real estate, bonds, cryptocurrencies have been very popular. But, really when you look at it, if you look at somebody's portfolio, the average American has the majority of their net worth in their house and in their 401k. And unfortunately, their house is, in my opinion, not really an investment. You got to live somewhere. And then the 401ks, if you have the majority of your net worth there and you're close to retirement, you may want to look at it and see what other options are out there. And I think gold has always been a safe haven. Silver is really undervalued right now, and a lot of people are scooping up a lot of silver. So I think it's an exciting time for commodities.
It really is. And then going back to a news topic that came out a couple months ago, but it's worth mentioning here, is the fact that we have legislation going through that could potentially put us back onto a gold standard. And
Yeah.
not only that, but just the last week, there was a news story coming out about Trump being able to take more control over the Federal Reserve and actually fill some board positions there. So do you see in the future us actually getting back on something like a gold standard?
I mean, it would be fantastic for gold. I think it would be great for the dollar to have something regulating it so that we can't just print and print and print. And, inflation, we've talked about it. People forget about it. But, you go back, if you go back 100 years, you go back to 1918 and you had a $20 bill or a $20 gold piece, that $20 bill, that $20 gold, you could buy a lot of things with $20 100 years ago. You could buy all your groceries. You could, if you could buy a suit, you could do tons of things with $20. Today, $20, barely covers any kind of meal or anything.
Yeah, barely half a tank of gas for 20 bucks.
Half a tank of gas. But that $20 gold piece today would still buy tons of groceries. You could, a man could buy a suit, a woman could buy some, handmade dresses if she wanted to do that. I mean, that 1 ounce of gold has held its value over the last 100 years. So even though gold is down where it's been over the last few years, today it's still really held its value compared to the dollar. And I think that what Trump's doing is interest rates have gone up 6 or 7 times over the last 18 months. And we're starting to see that real estate bubble start to crack. Home prices have gone up just like they were in 2008. They've actually gone past 2008. And so he's saying, hey, maybe we need to stop, raising interest rates. Maybe we need to expand the money supply a little bit and try to keep this economy going. Because obviously, the election's next year and we don't want to see a big correction while he's going into 2020. Mm-hmm. So he could either, by law, he could actually affect the interest rates, which no president has ever done. They've never taken control of the Fed. Or he can just appoint 4 people that have similar kind of business mentality that he does, and then they can dictate policy that way. So either way, I think he's going to dictate policy in terms of the Fed. The problem I really think is no matter what you do, even if we try to keep interest rates low, things are starting to move in that direction. We're going to see a housing bubble correction.
Right.
Stock market. So I don't know what he's going to be able to do because home prices are too high. In terms of just what everything's costing, inflation is at a 6-year high. Everything's getting very expensive. So unfortunately, I think he came into office with a lot of financial problems. He's trying to fix them. But I just don't know if he's going to be able to.
Yeah. It sounds like he's just trying to mitigate the inevitable, and the inevitable is some kind of correction. So with the way gold and silver hold up, that just sounds like it'd be a much better option.
Yeah, and that's
much better.
Yeah, and he owns gold. I don't know if he owns any silver, but he's held these things in the past. So he obviously stands behind having some kind of precious metal in the portfolio, and so it's on everybody's mind. Everybody's talking about metals right now, and it's good to talk about it now because when it starts to run, typically gold doesn't go up 5-6%. Mm-hmm. From 2001 to 2011, gold was going up 20% plus per year. And when the 2008 correction happened, that's what happened to gold, and that's what happened to silver was actually going up more. So when you see that correction and you see the government kind of scramble to fix those problems, they're probably going to expand the money supply, devalue the dollar, and that's when gold and silver are going to go up precipitously in value.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for your insights. I appreciate that. And one last thing, let's mention that Trump coin.
Yeah, so we're pre-selling a 1 ounce silver Trump coin. It's the only 0.999 actual silver coin that's on the market. Beautiful coin. It's a commemorative coin, and I'll just kind of hold it up here. So for anybody that wants to get into the silver market that hasn't, wants to get something for themselves or maybe their friends, get something delivered home, people have been just jumping all over this. They're really excited about it. Also, they have to make sure that they mention your name. If they put in DTI in the coupon code when they check out, they're going to save $5 per coin.
Nice. Cool, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so that's about almost a 16% savings.
And I'll throw a link down below where you can go check out the coin and throw in that coupon code.
Absolutely. I think people are going to love it. And, if they have any questions, they can obviously give us a call too.
Yeah, funny you just came out with that too. I was out with family last week and I got my grandpa's really into collecting stones and rocks and gold and silver. He gave me a Lincoln silver coin, silver coin, because I'm a very distant relative from Lincoln.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
yeah, he gave me a little Lincoln coin, so now I'll have a Trump coin to go along with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's great. People, and I think it's great because we talk about IRAs, and obviously a lot of people are doing that with us. They hear it on the show, but some people they don't have an IRA. They just want to get some silver. They support Trump. They believe in what he's doing, so they want to go ahead and get that coin. So they go to Trump Coin 2020, or they hit the link below. All the information is there about the coin, and we're excited to offer it.
Cool. Appreciate it all, man.
Thanks, Jordan.